we got a question here from Hemsing Panwar, which is, can you ask him to summarise the history of the Labour Party from the 1990s to today and how it ended up being the opposition party for a decade now? Well, I can tell you for free. I can tell him, and I have. So, Ellis, you want to have a shot at this one?
Yeah, so great question, Hemsing. I think the main things I've kind of got for that, and we also spoke about Clause 4. Basically, Clause 4 was the Labour Party's commitment to socialism, and I'm not sure what year it was, but it was scrapped by Tony Blair with the idea that it will win more middle-class votes. And I think that kind of detachment from socialism worked then, but I think the Labour Party now recognises itself as a socialist party, and it kind of has that absence of that. And I think Clause 4 was such a big thing that Tony Blair kind of pushed the Labour Party, obviously New Labour, on a much more centrist course to win those middle class votes, which is a lot of England is those kind of southern middle class seats that you do need to win. They're big battlegrounds that if Labour does well in the south, it will do well all the time. Not recently, obviously, with the red wall falling. The other bits I've got, I'll kind of go through my bits and then
Sure.
run over. But I've got a series of leaders that didn't really inspire. Primarily, obviously, Brown and Miliband. I like Ed Miliband as a politician. I think Ed Miliband's great. He's a really knowledgeable guy, comes across well, and it just seems like a good bloke. But as leader, I think people kind of judged him off a picture of him eating a sandwich.
Yeah.
And it was quite sad to see. So I think there was, primarily with Miliband and majorly with Jeremy Corbyn, there was a big media character assassination of him. People were convinced that Jeremy Corbyn is a dangerous man, and then you'll see a picture of him who's just planting some potatoes in his allotment and reading a story to kids.
That's
there was
dangerous.
that. Yeah, people kind of got convinced that he was like, oh, Jeremy Corbyn, big dangerous man. He's going to come for your money, and he's gonna cause this trouble, and he's a terrorist, and people believe that, and it was very, very sad to see. And the kind of two final points I'll quickly run over is, like we said earlier, when Jonathan Ashworth was on the news, Labour don't offer anything currently. There's no idea, there's no direction, there's nothing, and the infighting on the Labour Party for the last, probably 5 years has been horrendous. There's no unity in the party. Everyone wants to have a go at each other. Everyone's out for themselves. And it seems like there's no, as much as I'll be honest, I hate the Conservative Party, but they have that unity because, ultimately they're in power, I guess helps. But they also just have the same goal of, we want to be in power, we want to stay in power. And it gets them unified. Whereas with Labour, it seems like, well, I want to do this, no, I want to do that. Well, you're wrong. I hate this person, yada yada yada. There's no unity at all in the party, from politicians to members, and it's. I think that's a big I think those are the big contributions I've kind of run over.
Yeah, I think that Monty Python skit is really accurate. The one is like, we are the Judean People's Front. No, we are the People's Front of Judea, or something like that, which is just. Yeah, it's very accurate, to be fair. I think the main issue, that the reason why Labour became an opposition party, was the 2008 recession, where it was very close to an election in 2010. I'm not sure Gordon Brown was looked to super favourably, especially after he sold off the gold at a cut price, which made him look very incompetent. And I think that was the main reason that the Conservative Party framing of Labour being irresponsible and blah, 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 which, we weren't in the best financial position before the recession, but the framing was really aggressive from the Conservative Party that Labour are irresponsible with money, and that still sticks to this day. People still think the Labour Party are irresponsible with money, so that's one of the main problems Labour has. Also, the fact that Corbyn put out a massive manifesto promising to nationalise things, and people are like, well, I don't think that really needs nationalising, etc. I don't think that was great. Let's think about who we had as leaders. Gordon Brown left, and then Ed Miliband, who had a really bad team, I would argue, around him, where his policies were really bad. When he was like, oh, you know what, I'm going to cut uni fees to £6,000. I was like, Ed, you might as well just not bother to get out of bed, mate, if you're going to come up with an argument like that. It's like, I'm going to make your life slightly less worse. It's like, yeah, no, people aren't going to vote for you en masse for that. So yeah, it's just a lack of direction of, where does the party want to be? are we a centre-left party? Are we a left-wing party? Do we believe in clause 4? Do we still believe in clause 4? That kind of thing of, well, Jeremy Corbyn's main problem was, it wasn't just his policies, but I think he was deeply unpopular in the country. Whether you think that's right or wrong, some of the stuff he said and done wasn't the best in the past, I'm not going to lie. But if you argue that he's the problem, not the policies, then, it does create problems when Starmer said he's going to come up with his own policy proposals finally after like a year and about 6 months of me screaming at my microphone saying, please offer some policies, please. Like, I don't know how much more I have to ask you. Like, dude, you're leader of the opposition, offer something at least. Like, how can you oppose when you offer nothing? It's like, I wouldn't have done what he's done. And it's like, what would you have done then? It's like, probably nothing, mate, to be honest. It's that massive, it's not picking the right leaders, not picking the right arguments. I think maybe if Ed Miliband ran in 2017, he would have done better than Jeremy Corbyn, because Theresa May was absolutely awful. But again, that's something we're never going to know. But it's just the Labour Party need to figure out what they're about. The Conservative Party kind of know what they're about. They're a very right-wing, bordering on right-wing populist / maybe fascist almost party. They love the culture war, and people in this country love the culture war. And, some people in this country would rather be poorer, but they want to use words that, aren't quote unquote politically correct. You can't call someone disabled now, or, use other words, and people get really upset about that in this country. I can't figure out why, because I'd be more concerned about my pay packet than the words I can say. But that kind of culture war, I think, is a massive problem for the Labour Party, because we really don't know where we are as a party. I don't know how much you agree or disagree with that monologue, Ellis, but yeah.
I think the point you made on the culture war was a fantastic one. It's like people, it's kind of like, because the Conservatives know they can't basically do anything good because they're horrible, but they've basically gone, oh well, Johnny Foreigner over there, he's the enemy, or those woke teenagers who don't identify as a gender, they're the ones you want to, they're the ones who are giving you problems. And people go, oh, you can't even, I can't even, call my missus a bird anymore, like, I just want to go down the pub and do this and do that. And it's like, oh, there's 500 genders, this person wants to be in an Apache helicopter. No one does, because you've bought into that absolute rubbish. I mean, you've bought into the idea that people go, the right wing has done a great job of, like, obviously I know the origins of the word woke kind of comes from oppression in the US, I believe, towards black people, so I don't want to get it too wrong, but it's like the right wing have kind of made the word woke the bad word. Oh, you think you're woke? It's like, I don't care if you put a word on it, but I'm conscious to oppression and racism and xenophobia and sexism. If that makes me woke, okay, fantastic. But people have gone, oh yeah, you're so woke because you think men should use a women's toilet. Oh, and there's a big one about people in the LGBTQ community are promoting paedophiles and stuff, and people buy into that. They go, oh well, all the gay boys think there should be gay people, and there should be nonces and stuff. It's like, no one's thinking that. You're just reading the rubbish online that's being spouted on Facebook and going, yeah, that's true, snowflakes, a lot of them. And the Conservatives just sit back and laugh because they know you're just a puppet. You're so easy to control.
Yeah, I mean, right wingers are the biggest snowflakes that there are. You tell them a problem with Brexit, they're like, oh, you're Project Fear is what you are. And I'm like, mate, like, I've just offered you actual evidence. Like, oh, you can't quote the FT, they're a Remainer paper. You can't quote the Guardian, they're a Remainer paper. Oh, the BBC are left wing, have you seen Laura Kuenssberg? I'm like, mate.
Like, oh, the biggest right wing commentator we've got. Yes, I have seen her, funnily enough.
I think it's Andrew Neil, to be fair, but I suppose he's out.
Yeah. He's gone.
Also, Andrew Marr's not great. It's just all the Andrews. Just get out of the BBC, leave.
Sorry if your name's Andrew and watching this.
Yeah, it's time to go, pal. Andrew Neil and Andrew Marr are the ones to blame. They've let the side down. Team Andrew has been let down by these two people. But yeah, I think the main problem is Labour don't know what they are anymore. And I don't know what the Labour Party are anymore. I can tell you they are not Boris Johnson or the Conservative Party, but I cannot tell you more than that. Even Rayner admitted herself that the Labour Party voters didn't know what Starmer was. And if you want to know why, the main reasons were that Labour have been in opposition since the 2010s is the recession, which was badly branded onto Labour, despite the fact that it was in the US that it was the US that caused it. So yeah, great arguments there, guys. But it's Labour kind of lost the marketing war, I think, around the recession. I mean, we're in a recession now, but no one's like, oh, this is Boris Johnson and Dishy Rishi's fault. The main reason the recession's really bad here is their faults. But I'm not going to blame the complete recession on them, because that's not very fair, is it? But the right wingers will do that. They would have blamed Jeremy Corbyn for the outbreak of COVID and any economic fallout from it. So, the main reason, Labour are here is they've lost the PR war, and the fact that they've had leaders with wildly different kind of mentalities. They're vastly different. Gordon Brown, Ed Miliband, Jeremy Corbyn and Keir Starmer, despite Starmer saying that he believes in kind of Corbyn's policies and he ran on that 2017 and 2019 manifestos, he clearly does not believe them right now. So I think that's the main problem, I think. What do you think, Ellis?
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. A few weeks ago we had Boris Johnson saying, "Let the bodies pile high," and that
thousands, yeah.
And that phrase, that I don't know why Labour didn't just run with that, put it on every single billboard, newspaper, radio. I don't care what you put it on everything you can see. Let people see it, because people have forgotten it. People don't care it. They've gone, oh, he said that. You have to keep pushing it down people's throat until they get to the point where they go, okay, I'm going to acknowledge this. That's really bad. And kind of ultimately, Hemsing, you got a fantastic question. It is a case of Labour have lost what they stand for. And I'd say, if you don't know what Clause 4 is, have a little look online about the big kind of conflict around it. But it was basically it was the commitment to socialism that's now kind of gone. So I definitely have a read of that.
I'll drop a link in the description. It's on Wikipedia. Sorry.
Nice. So if you don't know much about 2008, I'd say there's a film called The Big Short. I'd give that a watch. Obviously, I don't know how much you know, but that's a great film. But ultimately, Labour doesn't know how to market itself, and the Tories know how to assassinate the Labour Party.
And they've got the press.
Yeah, they've got big media, which obviously makes the job 100 times harder. But it's Labour are doing everything to not help themselves. They just want to make lives harder and harder. And I think it'll get to the point where we may have an election whenever that comes.
Oh God!
And it'll be a case
2022.
It'll be a case of, what are we voting for? And people on the left will go, we don't really know. So vote Labour. That's kind of, I guess, if I were to summarise the question, and I'm happy to move on. But hopefully that kind of gives some help to you, Hamsing.
I'm going to be spamming that Andy Tate clip of, dear God, not another annihilation. The Andy Tate clip, because if that election comes, man, it might even be worse this time around, because those people who voted Tory might not come out and vote this time because they don't believe, some of them do have buyer's remorse, but if the Labour Party can't get voters out en masse, then, there's still massive problems here. And why would you vote for Starmer unless you really hate the Tories or you just don't like them? Who is there to vote for? I mean, not many. The Green Party have been killing it in council elections. So it's clearly not just the case that it's down to Brexit or down to whatever issue. It's that Labour have no policies, and the Greens obviously do, and people like the Green Party.
Yeah, I would say prediction for the next election is the Green Party are going to get a fair few more votes. I don't think they'll take more seats. But I think they'll take more votes, definitely, especially from the Labour Party, really. But that's kind of my lack of expertise knowledge.
To be fair, you did predict a Tory majority in 2019, and I thought it was going to be a hung parliament. So, Mystic Ellis with the predictions.
I said a big one as well, so I was very right.
I think you're right, and I was like, no, I don't think so, Ellis. Did we say it on Twitter? I think it was on Twitter, was it?
I think we did, yeah.
Well, it's public. It's public. People can see it.
When Trump won the first time round, I said to loads of people, I said, Trump's going to win this.
Yeah.
And people called me a moron. And I still remember people going, you're stupid.
Did you ask someone after the result came in and said, who's a moron now?
It was people in person were just like, cause I told loads of my mates, and they're like, don't be so stupid. And I said it's going to happen. And it did. So if you want tips on elections, follow me on Twitter for betting tips. Even though
I'll leave a link in Alice's description. Also, I predicted Kane on £5 that Donald Trump would win, and he actually gave me the £5. He bought me a HDMI cable. So, yeah.
Not like Kanan to give money away. God.
To be fair, I did pester him about it loads. I was like, yo, do you see that guy, Donald Trump? He's president now. Didn't you say he wouldn't win? So, anyways, we'll move on to one of